How do you leave a legacy in the sport of football? You can be the best to ever do it, like Tom Brady or Jerry Rice. You innovate and push the game forward schematically, like Bill Walsh or Paul Brown. Or you can popularize a move so effective that it's named in your honor and used by defenders all throughout the NFL, even after your playing days are far behind you. We're talking about the Peanut Punch. Charles Peanut Tillman may not have been the first defender to punch out the ball for a fumble, but he was certainly the best to ever do it. Tillman is tied for 6 most forced fumbles in NFL history and the only defensive back to make it into the top 10. With 44 forced fumbles in 13 seasons, including his 2012 season where he forced an NFL record-tying 10 fumbles, Peanut Tillman's punch was one of the most singularly effective defensive moves that the NFL has ever seen, up there with Reggie White's hump move and Dwight Freeney's spin. So how did Tillman perfect the punch? Why is this move so effective? And how many fumbles did this move cause in the 2024 NFL season? Charles Peanut Tillman, who got his nickname Peanut because when he was born, his aunt said that he looked like a peanut, was drafted with the 35th pick to the Chicago Bears out of Louisiana Lafayette. And the Peanut Punch started even before Tillman reached the NFL. Tillman attributed the idea of punching at the ball to one of his college coaches, Rodney Southern, and he said to Tillman, when his team's offense was running a triple option, that if you just swatted at the ball, you could have had 10 forced fumbles. In an interview with 670 to the Score, when he was asked about the Peanut Punch, Tillman said, "The one thing I used to do in college is I would purposely take bad angles." He then said that, "Clearly you can't do that in the NFL because everybody's fast. So I gotta figure out how to punch it out and tackle at the same time." Tillman figured this out really quickly because in his first career game against the 49ers, he recorded his first ever forced fumble while covering a punt return by return man Jimmy Williams. Tillman ended his rookie year with only 1 more forced fumble, but 4 total interceptions. He played only 8 games in his second year after sustaining a knee injury in week 2, but in his third year is when Peanut Tillman really started to find his groove. Lovie Smith retained Tillman as the Bears' #1 CB after being named the #1 corner last year. And this proved to be a good choice as he recorded 4 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions including 1 pick six, and 96 total tackles. In the Bears' 2006 Super Bowl season, Tillman only had 1 forced fumble but again 5 interceptions. However, he did record 11 tackles and a forced fumble in the rainy Super Bowl 41 matchup against the Colts. Then, in his next 7 seasons as a Chicago Bear, Tillman recorded at least 3 forced fumbles in each of those seasons, including 3 seasons with 4 forced fumbles, 1 season with 6 forced fumbles, and 1 season with a mind-blowing 10 forced fumbles in 2012. 10 forced fumbles in 1 season is a feat only reached by 3 players in NFL history: Robert Mathis, O.C. Umenyiora, and Peanut Tillman. And this is what makes Tillman's forced fumbles even more impressive. For pass rushers like Mathis and Umenyiora, they're going after a more stationary target, which means that the ball is easier to jar loose because a quarterback isn't securing the ball into their elbow like a regular ball carrier. And sometimes when a quarterback is under duress, they'll even hold the ball out extended out with only one hand. For Tillman, he's facing a moving target who's holding onto the ball for dear life and with precision, punching the ball dead on to force a fumble. Tillman ended his career with the Carolina Panthers, forcing 2 fumbles on the way out. So during his 13-year career, Peanut Tillman forced 44 fumbles, had 38 picks, scored 9 touchdowns, and left behind one of the most widely used moves by NFL defenders across the league. So what makes the Peanut Punch so effective? Quote, "It's all about attacking the ball at the right angle and hitting vulnerable points, usually the back of the ball where it tucks into the elbow." The legend John Brankus did a segment on the Peanut Punch back in 2013 where he detailed the force needed to knock the ball loose when a ball carrier has 4 points of contact, the total surface area of the Peanut Punch, and the time it takes to locate and strip the ball. When looking at the 4 forced fumbles he caused against the Titans, Tillman would initiate contact and then repeatedly punch to eventually jar the ball loose, engage the punch when the ball carrier was focused on an oncoming tackler, when a ball carrier was actively going through contact, or just simply square up a ball carrier and with one single punch, knock the ball loose. There is an art to the peanut punch, which is detailed in this ESPN article from 2016. But when Tillman was asked about pressure points and the science behind the punch, he responded by saying, "I feel like that's just a bunch of BS. There's no film study. If I see what I feel like is a vulnerable spot, an area of weakness by the ball carrier, I try to punch it. It keeps coming up. I mean, simple enough, right? See ball, punch ball." This is a technique that is now drilled into a player's repertoire from an early age and likely practiced by all 32 NFL teams. Now, there's no concrete data on how many fumbles were caused by the peanut punch in the 2024 NFL season, so I manually tracked how many times a fumble was forced using the punch. There were 18 tweets from the NFL during the 2024-2025 season, which highlighted a fumble being forced by the punch. But let's go a step further and try to attribute each fumble that was caused by the punch during the entire season. I'm relying on Frankie G's weekly Every Fumble Lost videos from week 1 to week 18, so shout out to him for putting these videos together. Also, note that these were only fumbles that were recovered by the defense. So there could have been many more forced fumbles that were eventually recovered by the offense, and likely many more peanut punch fumbles that weren't included in these videos. So week by week, here are the number of total fumbles and the fumbles that were caused by the peanut punch. So when looking at the total numbers, 76 out of 271 forced fumbles recovered by the defense came from the peanut punch. 28% of all fumbles recovered by the opposing team were caused by a move pioneered by this man. That's called leaving a legacy. There are players in the NFL today who are great at the punch, most notably Fred Warner and TJ Watt. But it seems like anytime you turn on Red Zone, you're bound to see Scott Hansen call out a fumble that was caused by the peanut punch. Takeaways are extremely prioritized by NFL teams, so drilling something as effective as a punch is a must. Nick Sirianni told the media that they had Eagles VP of Football Technology put together a video package featuring every single peanut punch that forced a fumble in Tillman's career. And this proved dividends, as in their NFC Championship game matchup against the Commanders, 2 out of the 3 Eagles' forced fumbles were by way of the peanut punch. Charles Peanut Tillman has been a Hall of Fame nominee 4 times, but he's never been named a finalist, let alone a semi-finalist. But even though Tillman may not ever make it into the Hall of Fame, his name will still live on forever in the sport of football for giving us one of the most formidable moves that the game has ever seen.